Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Powerhouse Podcast. I'm your host, Candy Barone, and I am super thrilled to have you join us again today. As you know, this is our space to truly talk about how leadership is a choice. It's all about how you choose to show up, how you choose to serve others, and how you choose to take personal responsibility inside that space. And today I am thrilled, delighted, honored. I don't even have enough words to share my excitement as two of my most favorite people on the planet are back here to join us. Let me just first say hello to Tamara Green and David Dachinger. Welcome again to the show.
It is so great to be back. We couldn't wait. So yeah, here it is, 2019, back with Candy.
Yay, we're starting a new year, and I get to bring back some of my favorite people. For some of you that remember, David and Tamara were on last year and really talked a lot about their relationship, their journey through cancer, things around their loving meditation app, which we're going to get into a little bit more again on the show today. But before we dig in, let me give you sort of the official bio on my fabulous guests who are joining me in the ring today. David Dachinger and Tamara Green are the co-founders of Loving Meditations. David is a featured author and Grammy-nominated composer who has scored inspiring music, and trust me, I have heard some of his music. It is beautiful, for America's most celebrated sporting events and television shows. Over 1 billion people have heard his music on CBS broadcasts of the Super Bowl, the Masters, and the NFL. David is a survivor of head, neck, and lymphatic stage 4 cancer. Tamara is an author, speaker, and trainer dubbed by Elle magazine as the soul-centered psychotherapist and meditation facilitator. Tamara combines her many years of professional training and life experience, such as caregiving, to create powerfully effective guided meditations that have helped thousands to achieve peace, love, and well-being. Together, they are married, and they create this highly effective multimedia programs that help cancer patients and the caregivers to dramatically reduce stress, anxiety, pain, and discomfort through their cancer journey. And I will tell you, as someone who absolutely loves their app, you absolutely need to check out Loving Meditations. It is fantastic. So with that, let me just say welcome again. I'm so glad to have you guys here.
Thank you for having us back.
Thank you. God, I love you, Candy.
Oh, there's so much love.
I love you. You're so enthusiastic. It's just juicy.
Oh, thank you. By the way, just so y'all know, we're going to have a little love fest.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think the last time they were on my show, I was bawling by the end of it. So whatever happens, as you know, this is just fair game. We're going to get into the real stuff. Before we do that, some people may be joining us now and weren't able to go back. And I think it was one of the earlier episodes we did last year, I think somewhere around March or April, that you guys were on the show, if I'm right. So you might go back and look at what episode. But just to remind people, and for some of our new followers, share a little bit about your journey and what got you here.
Right. Well, we've been married for 20 years. And more than 20 years.
Wow.
Stop counting at 24. And so life was good until 2013 when I received this diagnosis of stage 4 cancer. And it really became such a pivotal point, not only for me personal and my own spiritual and personal growth journey, but for us as a couple. It not only brought us closer together and took us places that we never would have gone had we not gone through cancer together. It also brought us to the place of birthing Loving Meditations and going into the business world as a couple. And I like to say that, how often can a musician and a social worker, do something together? Where's the common ground? But we found common ground. And so after the cancer journey, which took us some wild places individually and personally, in terms of health, in terms of energy, in terms of facing mortality, in terms of self-discovery and finding ways to get through it with greater ease. We decided to take those gifts and pay them forward. And so now we've been paying that forward since 2016, and that in itself has created some really dynamic and interesting situations within our relationship and within our business.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And one of the things I want to, there's actually two things I'd really like to talk a little bit more about that. One is the idea that oftentimes we get focused on the mess when it shows up, right? And we don't necessarily see or feel the blessing inside of the mess or inside of the trauma or inside of and I know, and especially in the last conversation we had, you talked a lot about that journey through really understanding, because I think one of the things I'd love to talk about is how do you go from experiencing something like that to then moving into a space that says, this is a gift that we get to serve forward. Because I don't think for most of us, when we get in that opportunity, that right away we're like, oh, great, the sky is falling down, my entire world has just gone upside down, crazy, we're inside out, and we know that this is going to mean something powerful for how we get to show up in the world. I don't gather that's what happened for you guys. So how did you move through the kind of the reality into a space to say, and the other piece of that was, who would think that a musician and a psychotherapist would come together to create something to serve as a result of this space that turned our life upside down?
Right. I love this, or these questions, not just this question, Candy.
Yeah, I never asked one at one time. It never happened.
So when David was first diagnosed, and at the same time our son was diagnosed with Lyme disease, so that was in a 4-day span, these two major diagnoses with my two guys, my loved ones, I was freaking out, and I was overwhelmed, and I was stressed out, and I couldn't sleep, and I was worried, and everything had just turned, upside down. And that is just, it's not me, it's just not this person that I tend to know who tends to be, easygoing and kind of calm, and, I can just kind of get through things. But this was just like huge, major stuff happening all at once, which often happens to people, right? It's just when it rains, it pours kind of thing.
Right.
So at first I just didn't even realize what I was doing in terms of what I was thinking and the crazy stuff I was thinking and the really, really scary thoughts I was telling myself. I mean, I was believing everything I was thinking, let me put it that way, where I had come from a place of telling my clients, don't believe what you think, it's okay, but I was believing everything I was thinking, freaking out. But there was this one point where I was, in the middle of like, feeling like I was going to have my own little heart attack here, when I just said, whoa, who is this? This is Tamara. Come on. Hello. Where are you in there? I know you're in there. And it was a big moment for me to just realize, wow, what is going on in here? And that's when I started taking some very deep breaths and saying, okay, let me get back to that question that I have been asking myself for years now. So let me get back to that question. And I love this question. It's a very powerful question. And it has changed my life in a big way. And then in that moment, once again, it really changed my life. So the question is, how is this situation and how I'm feeling and everything that's happening right now, how is it serving me? Because I know it's helping me. I know it's serving me. But how is it serving me? So I immediately went from the judgment that was going on, all the meaning and the crazy, scary stuff I was telling myself, right into awareness by asking that question. I know that this is unfolding exactly the way it's supposed to unfold, and I know it's helping me. I know it's serving me. So my question then to this situation then is, how may I serve it, or you situation, how may I serve you? And from that moment on, I mean, of course I had my moments, no question about it, but, because there was a lot of, it's hard to see your husband go through very, very brutal treatment with chemo and radiation and major surgery and all of that, lose weight and can't eat and all that kind of stuff. So I certainly had my moments, but overall, I was coming from a place of real presence and awareness. I know the experience I'm having is perfect. Okay, how may I serve you? Because I know you're trying to help me. How may I serve you? And it's just like this way of getting right into the moment.
And that's so powerful. And, there's so much. We could talk about this for eons and eternities, because you're so hitting on something that resonates so deeply with me. And I know many of the people that are listening right now. And there's a couple things inside of that. One, there is this space of recognition that, first of all, you're right. When it rains, it pours. And a lot of times when we're hit with one thing to deal with, it's like the walls just come crashing down. And I really believe that's with purpose, because sometimes you got to cool the tablecloth off the table to see what's still standing. You got to get rid of all the clutter, the debris, and all the things that have gotten you stuck to whatever is supposed to be that next big leap of faith, that big space. I also, as I'm listening, I feel personally as if that ability to get out of some of that default programming and what I like to call the duck space, where you're paddling underwater and your legs are going a mile a minute and all of your judgment and your chatter and your monkey mind and whatever you want to call it starts taking the driver's seat and really putting itself in a position to be like, but it's actually more like the but. It's like, but, right?
Right.
I feel as if that's a practice or a habit people need to learn. It's not something that, I think when we were children, it actually was something that may have been more intuitive and inherent. But I'm curious because Tamara and David, because I would imagine that while you were sharing this experience, the fear and the judgment and the pain and the watching one person suffer, because David, you're witnessing Tamara try and take care of you. There's this whole dichotomy of stuff going on. How did you get yourself to a point? What are some of the tools or the training or the practice that you both have put in place that allowed you to get to that place to ask that question that says, okay, how is this serving me and how can I serve you? Because I don't feel as if a lot of people have flexed that muscle or honed that skill enough that they don't even realize that that's a tool in their toolkit.
Right. In simplest terms, it keeps coming back to presence, what we like to call present moment awareness, which is really the path that meditation, mindfulness, and all those tools are taking us towards, is to be in the now. And all the thoughts that we have that tend to think about the future and the to-do lists and what needs to happen, or the past, what did happen that we didn't do right, or we screwed up, didn't go perfect, those things aren't going to serve us in the now. And so we started to look at how can we become focused in the present moment. And one of the tools that really gets you there the fastest is gratitude. We have a couple of ways that we've done gratitude exercises, but once you bring gratitude into your experience, it shifts you, because you're no longer focusing on the past or the future. You're totally focused on what's positive in your life right now. So that was something, in practical terms, we would literally go in the middle of January, go walking on a golf course and trade off gratitude statements. Like I'd say, I'm grateful that we have beautiful, wonderful kids. And then Tamara would say,
I'm so happy we have great insurance.
And I'd say, I'm so grateful that we have wonderful friends who come shovel the driveway. And so it didn't take long, a couple of minutes of that, plus being outside and moving and outside in fresh air. It's amazing how the shift happens. And that's just an example, but the key for us, and probably for anyone who's overwhelmed with whatever it is to try to find your pathway to the present moment, to really focus on the now. And that can be done through meditation, where we're starting to become aware, like a curious observer of our thoughts. And if we get into that space of just quieting down, closing our eyes for a few minutes, and starting to see what's going on inside our shattering mind, we can start to find some space in between those thoughts and start to spend more time in the space and less time in the crazy thoughts that we have. And in that place, it's not just in the meditation, but it's when we walk out into everyday life and start to occupy more of that space that I think we can achieve some of the things that we're talking about.
I love that. And I love that you talk about that space of getting present starts with gratitude. Because I'm a big believer of, there's so many people that talk about an attitude of gratitude. And I personally think that's a cop-out. I think it's a practice of gratitude. And you guys clearly demonstrate that. One of the things, I've got this burning question. I have no idea where it came from. But as I'm listening to you talk about getting present, and I know how closely you two play together, and you even talk about taking a walk on the golf course and kind of trading off the practice of gratitude. I'm curious, it's a two-part question. One, how do you create that presence by yourself? And how do you create that presence as a couple? How do you meditate together or create that space of being able to quiet down and breathe together? And because I think that's a fascinating dynamic that's lost in a lot of relationships, unfortunately.
Oh, I could go so many places with that. Oh, I love this stuff. You're getting me all excited, Candy. Okay. For me, personally, I'm sure David does this too, but if it's okay, I would like to do it right now so everybody that's listening can do it. All right. So when you are, there's a lot going on in your mind, you're anxious, you're worried, you're thinking, whatever, you got your to-do list. All the energy's right here, right? It's right in the mind. So what we're going to do with this easy breath technique is we're going to use our consciousness to move that energy down all the way to our feet and get grounded to the earth. Okay. So if you're sitting, sit back in your chair and really feel the support. So you can really relax. Feel the support of the chair. Uncross your arms and legs. If you're lying down, just really, get nice and comfortable.
And if you're driving a vehicle,
please pull over.
Wait.
pull over.
Yeah, pull over.
Turn off the car.
Listen to this later. Thank you. Or big tractor.
Responsible for any unnecessary crashes in the next. Whatever.
If you're in the middle of surgery, you may want to wait. Okay.
Hit pause, replay, and replay.
Okay. All right. So relax or close your eyes and breathe all the way in, filling up your lungs. Exhale and consciously move the energy down your body, down your legs to your feet. Breathe in, filling up the cells of your body. Exhale, move the energy down from the mind, down your body, down your legs, and to your feet. Breathe in all the way. Exhale, move the energy down because you can, down your legs and to your feet and toes. Good. Now, your feet may actually be tingling. If not, don't worry. Now, as if your feet have pores, you breathe into the pores of your feet. Exhale and grow roots right out of your feet down into the floor, down into the earth. Breathe into the pores of your feet. Exhale, move those roots, longer, stronger, fatter roots down into the earth. Really anchor into the earth. One more, breathe into the pores of your feet. Exhale, even longer, fatter, stronger roots down into the earth. Oh, I think your dog likes this.
Okay. Hey.
So just feel what just happened right there. You can feel the energy moved there a little bit. And if you haven't, then just keep going with this until I promise you, you'll get there. If you really allow yourself to be in this moment and just move those roots down into the earth like a tree. You feel more grounded, more stable. This also works very well when we're working with cancer patients to get less dizzy or less nauseous or not nauseous at all or not dizzy at all. It really helps with those kinds of things. Good. When you're ready, just slowly open your eyes. How'd that feel to you, Candy?
It's interesting. And I'm a big visual person. I could actually feel the energy moving down as if it was an elevator. Like I could feel it kind of go cling, ding, ding.
10th floor.
I felt like it went like a bigger jump down, like several floors at a time, and could really visualize the roots growing in. It's amazing how simple something like your breath or something that allows you to visualize and kind of take that guided way down, they can just shift things. I feel very light and free right now. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, nobody has all that stuff going around in their head ever, right? You know, most of us are free and clear all the time.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what's going on, right? I think as all the years keep ticking off and we're multitasking and doing so much with our lives, our minds are getting even more busy and more overactive than they've ever been in the past. And so it's really important to remember that our existence is not just our mind, but our body is a big part of our physical existence also. So what that meditation does is help get us more into our body and less in our minds. And along those lines, you asked the question, what did we do during cancer and as a couple? Some of it's, lightening up and having fun, like dancing, and or just, looking each other in the eye, or things that are not so mental, right? Things that are a little more physical, a little more movement oriented. We do certain types of yoga together, and those are really instrumental in sort of bringing about change and putting us, kind of connecting us in a better way.
Well, and that was the word that it was just showing up as you were saying all that, is that connection, right? The fact that you do take time to just look into each other's eyes, that you're moving and creating that fluidity between your bodies and the energy and things around you. And so I think it's a great segue into some of the bigger things you're working on and what's going on for you, because you guys serve a really big community. You're serving cancer patient survivors and the caregivers, as well as anybody else on the peripheral that just really sees value, like myself, in the amazing meditations and the training and the tools that you put out there. That being said, how do you keep that level of connectedness between you as life gets to be life? I mean, it gets crazy. And I know we were talking just before we even went on air today that we needed some checkout time at the end of the year. And, people watch us a lot of times and they say, man, you're just charging all the time. You're going, you're moving, and man, you're like superheroes. And there's the B track, right? There's the underwater, what's really going on behind the surface. So again, I got a two-part question. One is, how do you maintain that connectedness as things get big and you're in such a capacity and you have such a purpose to serve at the level that you do? And how do you bring that connectedness to a community that's bigger than one to one to one, but one to many, one to millions? Because you're reaching global influence. How do you create that connectedness for people who may have never had the privilege like I have of being able to hug you physically and be in space with you? And by the way, can't wait to do that in a couple weeks. But that space, right? Don't know you personally. How do you create that connectedness for them?
Yeah, so I'm going to start with the connectedness to the globe, and then how we, keep that connection with each other. Me personally, every morning I am visualizing myself expanding out, even 100 million miles in all directions. The energy that is we all have our own unique energy. And I just imagine like my energy expanding out in 100 million miles in all directions. And in that moment, I just feel such, I think a better word than even connection is a oneness with everything, right?
Love that.
Absolutely everything. And then I start pulling in the things, the energy, the people, the places, the things, the molecules, the atoms, electrons, everything that brings me joy and happiness and prosperity and abundance and, all that. But in service to everyone, that's in the highest good of myself and also everyone else. It's a beautiful visualization that always brings me quite a bit of joy. And I know David and I like to do it together when we go on walks. We imagine ourselves expanding out in 100 million miles and then pulling in those, atoms, electrons, people, places, situations. It's really fun to do, together as well. But the other thing is, we are human beings, and this is more about how we really connect with each other. We're human beings that have feelings, past, baggage, fear, and it's okay to go ahead and express exactly what's going on. Sometimes, man, I had to deplug because I was just getting so freaking irritated with David. It was just like irritating the crap out of me. And I knew like, whoa, I am so,
right.
It's kind of like what happened when I was so overwhelmed as a caregiver. I'm like, whoa, Tamara, hold on. What's going on with you? Okay. The message was you need to deplug, and I did, right?
Well, that's such a powerful. I'm going to pause there for just a second because I know that inside of what you just said, there's something I want people to really understand. When you do feel that sense, and by the way, the people closest to you, whether it's your family, whether it's your loved ones, your significant other, whoever, when you're feeling that irritation, I like to say, when you feel like you need to throat punch somebody or you're about to throat punch yourself, you need to know, and Tamara just exemplified the opportunity there. You need to do the checking yourself. It is not about the other person. I need you to really understand what she just threw down in that statement is I recognized that I was getting irritated with David, and I had to say, whoa, Tamara, what's going on? And I had to unplug. Notice how she didn't make it. David had to do this. I really want the audience listening to let that resonate because I feel like there is such an opportunity. I was even talking about this earlier on a Facebook Live today around we sit there a lot of times when we intuitively know what we need to do, whether we're inspired or we're in a space where things are just really agitating us. That instead of taking responsibility, we go, so what do you think? So is this okay? And we push out this external validation or blame, and all we're doing is setting up a space to cop out. And I wanted to pause on that because that is just such a powerful demonstration of leadership that you just exhibited by taking personal responsibility for the fact that you noticed you were becoming irritated. And I keep saying she noticed that she was becoming irritated with the person that she loves most. Therefore, she decided she had to do something internal to shift that. And I just,
and you know how I did that?
Way to do that. Say that again.
Do you know how I did that?
Yes, I want to know.
Okay. It's something that I'm finding quite powerful, and that is I'm stopping and asking myself, what do I need? What do I need? Come on, Tamara, what's going on?
Say that question again slowly and more deliberately.
Yeah. What do I need?
Wow.
Because I really do need something in this situation, or else I would not be so triggered right now. I am needing.
So what happens when you ask that question? When you ask yourself that question, because this is powerful, and I really love that we're having this conversation. When you ask yourself that question, what do I need? What does it allow you to do?
It allowed, I'll tell you, in that moment, it allowed me to get really present with what was really going on. And it almost like it's making me emotional just thinking about it. 7 people passed away of loved ones of my clients. I hold a weekly, I facilitate a weekly support group for cancer caregivers. 5 of their loved ones died, and 2 of my psychotherapy clients' loved ones, like fathers, spouses, that sort of thing, died between the span of Thanksgiving and Christmas Day. And I was holding it all together and not realizing that I was having my own deep sense of fear and loss and upset. I just didn't even really get it until I stopped and asked myself, what do I need? And then boom, it just
and I mean, so
came to me.
transparent and so beautiful and so vulnerable in that space, because 2 things. One, it's that space of acknowledging it's okay to grieve, even though we're the people that are teaching. Because I feel like sometimes people think because we teach and we're out serving the world, we're not allowed to have the fear. We're not allowed to have the vulnerability. We're not allowed to look at the world and go, I don't want to be checked into humanity. And I'm getting a little emotional because I had a similar space. I just want to curl up on the couch and pull a blanket over my head. And I just want to stop being the rock and the shoulder and the person that has the answers for everyone. Right now, I just don't want to be that person. And until you can acknowledge that and get to a space that that's okay. Just say it's okay that I'm human. And I'm going to go back to the word you used earlier. We're human beings. Mm-hmm. To say, what do I need right now? Not only allows you to get really honest and vulnerable with yourself, but I would imagine it then allows you to have a different conversation with David and others to ask for what you need. Because one of the biggest opportunities for all of us, and especially you type A power players who are out there kicking ass and taking names, you don't ask for help when you need it. And I've had people notoriously say, Candy, how come the only time I hear from you is when you're doing great, the sun is shining, and your business is thriving? I never get the phone call when you want to curl up under the covers. I fortunately went and saw a friend in Houston last week, and she and I were like, oh my God, I had no idea how much we just needed to. And I needed a space that felt safe to just. So I love that you shared that, because I would imagine it changed a conversation between you and David around what you needed, thereby what he needed as well.
Yeah, I softened quite a bit, and then we softened together.
You guys are so cute, I swear. Thank you so much. I love you, but that word soften, I think a lot of people, myself included at times, are so afraid of that word soften.
Vulnerable.
Yeah. And I think that's where our greatest strength lies, right? It's our power, is our softness, our realness, our humanness, our knowing that we're all of the same oneness, right? I love that you talked about that. And I may have to shamelessly borrow or steal your technique on visualizing the energy going, because as you were describing that, I not only visualized both of you with this, like these beautiful colors and array and energy just moving out. I was like, ooh, I like that. That's like, I feel like the Care Bear stare just got like really big. I love the Care Bear stare. Like, imagine if we all visualized our Care Bear stare and how that energy went out and all the colors and the energy.
I love that.
I think there's a product in that. It's like a, like a stuffed animal with lasers and stuff.
Seriously, think about the Care Bears. I have to tell you, and I have a friend, actually a client that posts this, because I talk about the Care Bears all the time. I think whoever created that cartoon was genius, because each Care Bear had their own gift, right? And they would have a light that would come out of their core. So yes, it looked like it came out of their belly, but it came out of their heart-centered, visceral core essence of who they were. And it was a unique gift that if they shined the light, they could make impact. But it was when they linked up all together that they could defeat any kind of evil, and they could, seriously, how genius. I think the Care Bears are brilliant. And I think we have the opportunity, we're light workers, right? We have this opportunity as leaders and light workers to link together and bring our gifts and shine that light from our essence and that vulnerable, soft, wholeness space, we could defeat evil for all sake, all purpose. Why not? Why can't we be Care Bears?
Yeah.
We would like to invite you to create a Care Bear meditation for the Loving Meditations app. How's that?
I like that. That's a challenge for someone who's never even created a meditation. Wow. Sure, challenge accepted. Why not? You say yes, right? And figure it out later.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. We could talk all day. I really do. I cannot tell all of you listening, and you probably can sense this. I have had such an opportunity to get to know David and Tamara on a much closer level. We play in a community together. And I say play because we really get to play together. And in fact, in just a few short weeks, I get to, hopefully you guys are going to be there, see them again. And I know that every time I'm in their presence, I expand as a human being and I grow, and truly, and I'm very emotional saying this, they are truly two of my most favorite people on the planet. I love everything they're about. They just truly have my heart. And I want all of you to have the opportunity to get to know them better as well. So Tamara, David, how can people connect with you? How can they learn more about the beautiful and powerful work that you do and get connected in your community?
And the feeling is mutual, Candy.
Yeah,
we are your biggest fans.
Yeah.
And we can't wait to see you. So it's coming soon. We have meditations. Loving Meditations website is lovingmeditations.com, which kind of covers everything we do. The Loving Meditations app is currently on the App Store and soon to be released on Google Play for Android. And so I just invite you to look for us on Facebook, Twitter at Loving Meditator. And we are just, I think one of the things that comes up for me when talking about some of this is that when we have a business and a product and a mission, sometimes, our egos and our self-importance tends to become bigger than that mission and that product. And what's important for us that we did recently is just to step back and ask Loving Meditations, what do you want to be? I think it's a little almost presumptuous for us to think we know what it should be, because there's so much going on that we're not aware of. So I think we've become humble a little bit and step back and really let the business sometimes talk to us and go in the direction that it wants to go rather than what we've decided it should be. And sometimes it's hard. It's really difficult to let go of that control and that purpose and the vision and this, we know exactly what we should be doing, but in fact, there's so much going on that we're not, like I said, not aware of, that's not visible to us. And so part of what we're doing is dynamic, it's changing, our audience is changing. We're bringing in some amazing collaborators, some people that very well, Candy, and we're hoping to keep continuing doing that. Musicians, people that are amazing speakers, hypnotherapists, meditation facilitators, musicians of amazing talents. And so as we do that, again, it's growing in ways that we never could have predicted. So it's really like, sometimes you just got to let go of that steering wheel, like close your eyes for a few minutes, just let the car go where it wants to go.
Right? Let yourself be the vessel and allow it to decide where to go. Yeah, I will say, as someone, and I think all of us who have a big mission and a big purpose, I think that space of ego and getting out of our own way and not trying to drive or push. I like to say, as someone who continues to get taught this, I wouldn't say I fully learned it yet, that whenever there's a push or a pull, it's a space where I need to let go and surrender. And that surrender and that receiving and that allowing can be really difficult when you're used to being able to just driving things and moving, and you see the vision, and sometimes you just have to allow it to take its own space. And I think that's a great way to really bring what we talked about kind of full circle. in that space. And I'm curious, as we're closing things out, I feel like the time goes so fast.
I know.
I'm so sad already. We're going again. If you both could leave the audience with something, as you think about our conversation today, or even maybe something we didn't talk on, but it's something that's kind of that burning message, that thing you want to get out there, what would be the one thing you'd want to leave this audience with today?
I'll answer that, and maybe David can answer.
I'd love for you both to answer that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm all about making, I would imagine, Candy, that most people in your community, if not all people listening to your podcast, are very giving, selfless people. So I'm not talking to the narcissists out there. I'm talking to your community who are very selfless giving people. And I really want you to make 2019 about self-care. You know, what is something that you can do to increase your self-care practice, whether that is going on a nature walk, or being more self-compassionate, or less, self-critical or judging, or just, like you were saying earlier, Candy, just reach out to somebody when you're not feeling good or vulnerable and say, I don't feel good. Can you just listen to me? I just need somebody to, hear me, and it's okay. So make self-care your number one priority.
I love that. And it's great that you say that, because all of the clients I work with and the training, we talk about identifying your 3 rocks for the year, your 3 big rocks. And I am very clear. In fact, I just did a talk yesterday here in Austin where I said, and let me be very clear that one of those rocks is a non-negotiable, and it's around your own self-care and wellness. You cannot get the other 2 rocks moving at the highest and best level you can if you do not make yourself a priority. And so I absolutely love that that's your leave behind takeaway is self-care, because that needs to be a non-negotiable, that your self-care space has got to be one of your 3 big rocks for 2020. Love that.
Yeah.
David, how about you?
Yes, I love that one too. And for me, it's also self-discovery. So it's great that we're out there doing cool stuff in the world, doing our business. But throughout all that, like, what's the important nugget? Like, I think what's important is to find ourselves, to find out who we really are when we're doing business, when we're in relationship, when we're by ourselves. And in order to do that, we have to quiet the noise a little bit and start to look inside and get in touch with who we really are. It's so easy to disconnect from that, but I encourage everyone to find a way to get present and get to know yourself.
Yeah, I love that. Self-care and self-discovery. And you all know that you're listening. We talk about everything starts with being able to say yes to yourself. And that is that space of self-discovery that David's talking about. You've got to have a way that you personally can quiet down the noise, destroy the noise, get focused on what your gifts are. Many of you that are trying to seek your purpose, your passion, your gifts, it's because you're too out there instead of coming back in that space of really getting to know yourself. I heard a quote once that said, we spend more time watching other people than we know other people better than we know ourselves. And the fact that we have that opportunity, so bring those together, bring that self-care and that self-discovery together as a non-negotiable priority for you to have your most excellent year ever. And I need to just extend a very deep and heartfelt gratitude, my thanks, my just deepest appreciation and love for my 2 guests today. I absolutely love everything they represent, who they are, how they continue to choose to show up in this world, and how they're serving. And so, Tamara, David, thank you so much for being on the show again. So excited. And I hope you'll come back again.
We're there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Candy. What you bring is just so much joy and vulnerability into this world. It's fantastic.
Well, I love you both. And I love all of you listening. And thank you for continuing to tune in so that we can have some real conversations around what it means to lead in today's environment. And as we've always talked about, leadership is about how you choose to show up, how you choose to serve others, and how you choose to take personal responsibility. And it starts with you saying yes to your own self-care and self-discovery. So with that, thank you to my beautiful guests. Thank you to all of you. Make sure you subscribe so you do not miss an episode of the Powerhouse Podcast and the amazing guests we have in store for you. With that, I hope you all go out there and remember it only takes one action to change your life. I will catch up with you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.